Yeah, you push it.
Push it.
That was my favorite thing in the one of my favorite things in the absence was Matt making an Instagram post and using "Push It."
I was like, yeah, that's a song.
Like, fuck it. That's awesome. Hell yeah. Well, boys, it's so good to be back.
We are
yes.
back, and it's been a while.
It's, in the words of Aaron Lewis from Stained, it's been a while. We are back in action, ready for episode 77 of Whatchu Spinnin. As always, I am Dorian, your host, joined by Jake and Matt, my two brothers of another mother's. Anyway, how are you guys doing?
Super duper. Glad to be back.
Hell yeah.
Thanks for hosting.
Absolutely.
Missed you guys.
Missed you guys.
Missed you guys. Missed the cast.
That was
The wall
awesome.
looks great.
Yes.
I mean, the titles up there speak for themselves.
Yeah, let's just run it down. Let's run it down real
Run
quick.
it down.
For Jake, I pulled out Boldy James and the Alchemist, Bo Jackson, and J Dilla Donuts. Fuck yeah! I mean, those speak for themselves, obviously. Then we've got Clutch, Blast Tyrant, and Smashing Pumpkins' Siamese Dream for my side.
Oh, yeah.
Matt's album kind of had something to do with that part, and then for Matt. Two albums that I know he fucking loves. Merit and Noms by Perfect Circle. Picked that up in Salt Lake. We'll get into that here in a little bit. And Another Green World by Brian Eno. One that's been up there a couple of times for the show, but you just can't avoid a fucking classic like
Can't do
Another
it.
Green World.
Yeah, I told you guys I just heard that like a couple days ago. My girlfriend, she heard it. She's like, "This is that weird stuff, huh?" I was like, "Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
but it's so good, man.
Grows on you.
It
so
does.
good.
It does. But speaking of music and our absence, we were apart because I did some traveling. But before we get into that, Jake, you saw technically like you went to more shows than I did in the absence.
Yeah.
What'd you tell us about it? What'd you see? What was your favorite?
I went definitely. Oh, man, they were both super good shows. I went to go see Hermanos Gutierrez up at Grand Lodge. They killed. They were super good. Very, very mellow, very chill vibes. Like everyone there was just laying on the grass, like just listening to them. They were commanding like the whole stage. Like there is just two dudes. So, you know, it's not much grand they can do, especially with just their guitars, like no beat behind it or anything. But just like the delivery and like that little sliding guitar that one of them does, you know, you hear it and it's crazy in person. That's why I love shows, especially when you go in person and you get that because it feels like a whole experience, like not just outside of the music. It's like, you know, being there with other people with them, you appreciate it more. So that show was really sweet. The opener was pretty cool. Then I went to go see Khruangbin last week.
Hell yeah.
That was so good. That was so good with Peter and his cats.
Man.
Peter Cat Recording was there. They opened. Peter Cat did like pretty much all of Bismillah.
No way.
That's
They-
so
I was gonna
good.
Say, what'd they play?
Yeah,
They just came out with a new album.
they did.
too.
Yeah, I was hoping they'd like play some songs on there, but they didn't.
Is it good? I haven't gotten a chance to listen to it yet.
Yeah, it's good.
Okay.
There's like a couple songs on there that are really good.
Hard to top Bismillah though.
Yeah, no, definitely. And yeah, Khruangbin did like A La Sala for like their first half of the show, and then the other second half they just did a bunch of like Con Todo el Mundo and Universe Smiles, like just like their like popular stuff, and it was really good show. They went on like till almost like 10.
Damn.
Yeah.
So even, I mean, we're gonna go see Peter Cat in an opening slot in a couple of months. So they actually gave him like a good amount of time.
Yeah.
then still okay.
Yeah, no, Peter Cat played like maybe 10 songs.
Oh, that's good.
I'd say.
Nice.
Hell yeah.
Like majority of it being off of Bismillah. They only played like 2 songs that weren't on that album, I think.
That's
the
good.
opener and the closing. But yeah, no, super great. I heard that you went to another festival, which
Yeah.
in itself is like more shows in a way.
In a way, yeah. So I went out to DOS Energy out in Salt Lake City. Great venue. Don't ask anybody from Utah that because they'll shit on it. Her uncle was like openly like, you're gonna think, oh, what a dump, and I'm out there, I'm like, this is bitching because it's like it, I think I showed you guys pictures. I'll throw some in here, but it looks like the Taj Mahal kind of like architecture, and then
Nice.
it's literally out onto like the Salt Lake, like the shore of it. So that was pretty sick. managed to catch some acts that were at Beyond Wonderland that we didn't get to see. Jessica Otterfred does like harder like dubstep, like almost Liquid Stranger kind of stuff, but like a little more aggressive. And she destroyed. Like there were people, everyone around us was just like, Jessica. And I'm like, and like literally in the middle of her set, I'm like pulling up, I'm like, oh shit, like we could have seen her. Like she fucking killed. Like it's stuff that I wouldn't like. I listen to it here and there, you know. I'm definitely more of like a house like techno guy, but it just, there was a lot of that kind of stuff at this festival, and it just took you, it just grabbed you. So she killed. Seven Lions and Subtronics headlined, like co-headlined the first night of the festival.
Oh, nice, I've heard of him.
Yeah, Seven Lions is like, I was mixing with his stuff 10 plus years ago, and I was like, oh, it's like just hard dubstep. I forget that he's like now into like the melodic stuff, but it was like you said, dude, he's so much better live. It was fucking insane. I'm just like, the whole time I'm like, what is happening? And I'm like, and it's like he's got like long hair and it's like blown. You just see his silhouette up there and his hair is like blowing crazy. It looks like a mad scientist. I look at her and I'm like, no one understands. This guy's putting on a fucking master class in mixing right now. Like this is insane. And then after I picked my brain up off the floor, because I was just flabbergasted. I was like, this is actually nuts. We weren't on any extracurriculars. Just stoned out of my mind. And
as you do.
Yeah, and Subtronics has done a lot of stuff with Rez, and so I was like, I want to go see him because I haven't listened to a lot of his solo stuff, but if Rez co-signs him, I'll give him a listen. And dude, it was like, and so this is happening at the same time as Seven Lions. It was like Gandalf and Saruman, speaking of Lord of the Rings, dude, in their wizards. It was like two wizard beams like going at each other. I'm like, I thought that he was going to be over here like definitely, like, I was like, Seven Lions is put on a show. Like this guy's not going to be compete. I was like, what? Like we stayed at Subtronics. We're like, what the, like, yeah, this is equally a masterclass. Like this is insane. I'm like, he could be getting blown out of the water right now. And it's like, because we're close enough to where we could kind of hear the crowd from the other stage, and I was like, oh shit, it's like a noisometer kind of, like a basketball game. It's like, so yeah, that was rad. And then we found like the perfect little spot for Rez. There was like a little bar area that had like seating and quick access to drinks. And we were like right on the corner of this thing. It was like elevated about 6 feet off the ground. And we were significantly closer for Rez than we were at Beyond Wonderland. And we just could have gone and seen Above and Beyond. They've been doing it for years. I still want to go see them. She was like, they're my favorite. I've seen them 10, 12 times. Fuck them. Who cares? Like, she basically was like, who gives a fuck? We're staying for Rez. And we didn't intend, like, there was one artist or two that were like, we may leave during these guys. Like, we don't know them that well. They might really not be our cup of tea. Dude, everyone murdered. Everyone just, this whole stage all night, just banger after banger. Adventure Club killed. There was this like weird techno back-to-back going on when we first got there. They were super cool and like kind of creepy, trippy. And then just G Jones and E-Prom, I told you guys about them. Like Machine Girl, if they did drum and bass, which was sick. And then Rez, basically doing the same set list.
So Rez headlined?
Rez headlined, yeah.
Nice.
It was Rez and Above and Beyond were like the last two at the same time. So we were like, fuck it. Stayed for Rez, and she killed. Being so much closer for her was incredible. Like being able to actually like see the visuals and everything. You're just like,
yeah.
So that was sick.
Visuals at those shows are always sick.
Yeah.
Dude.
And it's a much smaller festival than Beyond Wonderland. So I feel like anywhere, like we were basically at the back of the venue.
Anywhere's a good spot.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was definitely a fun time. Definitely a fun time out there. And yeah.
And you came back with a whole bunch of vinyl.
Holy shit, I did. Shout out Randy's Records in Salt Lake City. Shout out Fountain Records, also in Salt Lake City. Bought like 8, 9 records at Randy's Records.
Good finds.
Yeah, some really good finds. Found Surrender by Rufus Du Sol out there. It basically,
jealous of that one. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I basically unintentionally just crossed a bunch of stuff off of my Discogs want list. So I was so stoked. Merida Noms was one we picked up out there. I Want to Die in New Orleans. That one was a random pickup. Like I was like, when in fucking Rome, like not going to see that local. A 1978 pressing of Excitable Boy by Warren Zevon, which was just it was $10. And I was like, yeah, okay, for sure. Because sometimes I don't really give a shit about like oh, it's this specific press. I'm like, yeah, but that one I was like, that's actually kind of rad. The fact I got it for $10, you know. What else did I get? I got some good stuff. Heavy Weather by Weather Report, Jaco Pastorius, shout out. Good stuff. And then, yeah, drove home.
Nice.
Here we are. Yeah.
That's an awesome trip.
It was. Very fun. Very fun, very fun. But I'm glad to be back. Anybody, do we have anything that we want to dive into?
A little bit coming up. Also, another show. Speaking of shows,
Yeah.
Peter Cat one, Billy Woods too.
Yes.
Billy Woods coming up.
And I might try to swing a goose in there the night before we go to Billy Woods. So
Wow.
we'll have a lot of
Nice
concert
guy.
coverage that for like 2-3 weeks. No, I'm super looking forward to that. It's the same spot that we saw Arm & Hammer
Yep.
for Billy Woods, and we know that venue is
That
that's
is
such a cool venue.
Yeah, we're gonna stay and get an autograph. Or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
That place
Yeah.
is tiny, man. It's
Yeah.
like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It'll be fun
It's
to see that album performed live.
Yeah.
Know that we're gonna hear the tracks that we like on that album.
right. I was playing it before
Yeah.
Jake got here, and I was like, I haven't heard it in a while, and I was like, yeah, what, might as well. And yeah, I was thinking the same
Wait,
thing.
what album they playing?
Hiding
Places.
Oh, they're playing Hiding Places?
Yeah.
Oh,
This
yeah,
is the
huh?
5-year
Yeah,
anniversary.
that's right. That's right. That's true.
That'll be fun. Have you guys been listening to anything new
Ooh.
or old? Been on your Spotify list at all?
Let's see. Yeah, actually, let me pull it up. Give me one
Nothing
second.
comes to mind. I know it. I guess one Mick Jenkins.
Mm-hmm.
What album is that? His album last year that he released. I've been getting right back into it. It's really good. It is called The Patience.
Okay.
Really good. I've always liked Mick Jenkins as a lyricist. He's pretty good. Besides that, a little bit of the new Peter Cat, but that's really about it.
I want to say Mick Jenkins. I think it was him. One of Gavin's friends is like a local rapper and opened for Mick Jenkins when he played at the McDonald or something last year. So,
Dang.
shout out.
Yeah.
I want to say that happened.
Mick Jenkins is sick, dude.
Yeah. I was listening. His stuff came on while we were on the drive back from Utah, actually. So that I was listening to some of his stuff. I've been this summer, and I mean, we've kind of mentioned it. This will be no surprise to Matt. I've been getting really into, so much so that it's my current White Whale album I'm trying to get my hands on. Wisconsin.
What is it?
Wisconsin Death Trip by Static X.
Me first.
Yeah, dude. Fucking.
You and everybody else, huh?
Yeah, dude, Static X, hell yeah, that album. I've been playing it so much, and then I've just been kind of. I think at least once an episode cycle, I get kind of into a new Deftones album. I've been getting really into their discography, and they're super cheap to get on vinyl, so why not? And I don't know why. That's been like my summer project is getting into them and the Grateful Dead. So.
Oh yeah. I've been listening to a lot of Moore Mother.
Yeah.
A lot of her
Nice.
features and even her solo stuff is good.
Hell yeah.
She's got a good vibe, good beats behind her lyrics, and it's
Nice.
all good.
A lot of M's, Mick Jenkins and More Mother.
Right.
I've always liked her stuff when she features, for Arm & Hammer or like Billy Woods.
Mm-hmm. Those are all
Really good stuff. I've also been recently last week I finished interview that Makami did with Peter Rosenberg.
Oh wow.
That was actually pretty cool.
Okay.
And just the way Makami thinks was kind of cool. So I dove back into some of his stuff too.
Okay.
Really good.
That would be, that actually, and it's like a sit down. How long is it?
It's like 2 hours long.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's actually, you know what? That is one I'd be interested in, especially him. Because, I'd imagine.
He's got a lot to say, man. It's kind of crazy. I didn't see Mock like that because he's always just been a in the shadows person, but he's very open on.
There's got to be a method to the madness of charging that
Yeah,
absurd.
he talks about it. It's kind of cool.
Okay. Cool.
That would be interesting to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll have to look into that for sure. Hell yeah. Other than that, I don't think I've got anything.
Besides that, these albums we're talking about.
Yeah.
I've been listening to these a lot.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and dive right on in. It's What You Spin in episode 77. Stick around.
reporting to you now from D-Boy.
Bow wow. Hell yeah. All right. This is, to quote Matt, I don't remember the direct quote, but you said it a couple days back. This is like the weirdest episode I think that we've done in a while. Or not weird, but like...
I didn't use weird. I
Yeah.
said unique or something.
This is the most unique, like, out there kind of... Especially for... Like, we all kind of did stuff that we don't normally do, I feel like. Like, we kind of...
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Some of it is like, okay, I can see why so-and-so picked said album, but then it is also like, oh, this is even a stretch for that. And one that I'm particularly interested in talking about is Jake's pick. He's going to lead us off. So what you got for us, my man?
Yeah, not only that, but timeline picks. Very different eras in history. So this one is Nina Simone, Little Girl Blue. Came out in 59.
59. That's insane.
It was recorded in 57, but not actually released until 59.
Okay.
But yeah, man, it's a while ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's some jazz. Nina Simone, iconic jazz, not only jazz musician, but pianist and singer. Her debut album, fucking wild. Yeah, there's definitely a lot to go on about this, and it's one of the jazz greats, especially for female artists. Yeah, what'd you guys think about it?
This is another case of seen the name 1,000 times. I feel like that's been my theme this summer, is finally listening to stuff I've seen a billion times. And Nina Simone, you see the placard in every record store you go to, and I was like, at least like, oh yeah, Nina Simone, like one of the jazz greats, whatever. Not whatever. I don't mean it like that, but you know what I mean.
Wow.
Nina Simone, one of the jazz greats, and you just it's like one of those things that, like, if you like music, if you're a fan of music, like that's
you see the name, yeah.
It's the unspoken agreement that she kicks ass. And finally getting to listen to her was truly a treat. She truly, like, yeah, it makes sense as to why she's heralded and touted as such a great. And I loved, the fact that she was a classically, like, she's like, I love classical music. She after making this album or whatever went and like holed herself up and listened and like just played Beethoven for like 3 days straight. I'm like, hell yeah, dude, like that's awesome. You don't see that, and like then or now. And it was a really tumultuous time for someone like Nina Simone, both as a woman and a person of color. Like back in that day, they were saying when she was a young girl, her parents had to like get moved to the back of a theater so that way like white people could come and sit up front, and she made a stand, so she was heavily involved in the civil rights movement and all this stuff. And yeah, I kind of went on a really cool deep dive this morning because I listened to the record the whole 3 weeks, and then finally was like, let's get into some background. And I was, fucking shout out Nina Simone, dude. This album as a whole and her, I was like, dude, she rules.
Yeah, she went through like a lot, especially in her not only personal life but like musical. What was she was going through? Like she like started piano like when she was like super young, and then her first show was when she was 12, and that happened. Like that happening, fucking wild. Like, yeah, man. Nina Simone. Like you see the name.
I didn't get into her until later in life, like probably maybe 10 years ago.
Okay.
And so it was through Jeff Buckley.
Oh wow.
The covers that he does on Grace.
Okay.
Lilac Wine's one of them. But Nina Simone has that captivating voice. She's a great pianist. Good Bait was one of my favorite tracks on that album because it's mostly instrumental.
Yeah.
And she is like an icon in that era. There's a really good documentary on Netflix that kind of talks about her whole life. I recommend watching it. Okay. It gives you kind of an open...
It's called
door.
I Put a Spell on You, right?
Yeah, really good. But this album, I bought it too. It's a great album.
Yeah.
It just showcases all of her talents. Like I said a minute ago, her piano playing's great, and it gets kind of sad at times. But for me, it's kind of uplifting piano music in a sense. But man, she's got a great voice too, and she does stand up for what she believes in. She's always like that, and you'll see that in the documentary if you watch it. But I mean, you could talk about Nina Simone all day.
Yeah.
She's got it. People reference her all day long, as being an inspiration for what they do. I mean, even not just as a musician, but as an activist, and like being involved with what she's talking about, and like writing songs like Mississippi Goddamn, and like being like aggressive about it.
Yeah.
Like saying F you. This ain't right. And she's always had that stance. So she's just one of those powerful people that you look up to in the music world, because there's not a lot of people that do that.
Oh yeah. No, perfectly said, Matt. Like you see it, especially with not what she was doing, especially that, but like the legacy she left behind. Like with her music, she did like 40, 50 albums, like something
I know, it's
insane, something
insane.
crazy.
Yeah.
People don't even do that in their lifetime. The fact that she did, but yeah, it's like the statement she had on it, and for this being a debut, insane. Like she recorded this like at the time when she was working at like a just a bar, and she had to like change her name because like her family were like kind of Christian, so they was still like at a time period where jazz was kind of viewed as like, you know, like not the greatest music to be doing. And she just like, she didn't necessarily like launch or anything, or it was anything crazy, but it definitely got some recognition at the time. And yeah, the backstory in itself is just insane. Like you could read like days and days of material on there. But like as a musician, the musician standpoint, like her piano playing, she kind of veers off from doing classical on this and doing jazzy piano, which is pretty sick.
And it's killer. It's unreal. She's wickedly. I also like I only knew that she was a vocalist. I forgot that she would like either it was not brought to my attention, like I just didn't know or whatever. Until like this week, I was like, oh shit, she's doing. I was like, oh my god, like that's even crazier.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's such impressive work. Like even for today's standards, I'm like, this would murder. And the fact that she was doing it up until she died, like she was still touring and making albums when she was like 70 years old, which is impressive.
Yeah. I've talked to Callie about it. Shout out. She's been to a couple Nina Simone shows.
Really?
She's been to every
She's been to
damn
everything.
show
It's
in
crazy.
the world.
But she was telling me about it, and yeah, it's crazy. And she like a couple of years ago they had like an email list where she'd put like, you know, what's in store, what's in stock, what's showing up, if you want to put orders, whatever. And at the end of it she'd always put like a video link to something like a show. And I clicked one and it was a Nina Simone show, and I watched it on YouTube. Crazy.
Really?
Crazy.
Damn. That's one that this is definitely like an era of music. And you know, we've talked about jazz, we've talked about jazz fusion, and you know, we've kind of talked about things that circle around what this album is. And you know, we've completely delved back. It's fucking 1959. That's an insane time, like time in America, time in history. And I feel like the 50s, it's like a weird one that almost gets glossed over because like the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, like all of that shit got so crazy.
Yeah.
Like things just developed so quickly. In the 50s, people were just chilling and being racist. Like there wasn't much to it.
Especially in the South, yeah.
Yeah, there was
Still
like,
happening.
especially North Carolina, like the fact that and then you get this album and it's super introspective, or like maybe not introspective, but it's
I could see that. A little
yeah,
bit.
but at the end of it, it evokes like just such emotion out of you, whether it is, you know, sad. Like I literally made a note. I was like, don't smoke in bed. Sad. It's my favorite song on this. And I don't, it like doesn't necessarily make me, it's just like at one point when I first heard it, I was like,
It has like a swell. It
Yeah.
kind of goes up and down.
Yeah.
Especially when she hits that high note.
yeah, exactly. That's what it is. There's like a part like right before that where it's, you just like go, oh, like, this makes me like, poor Nina. And then you're like, oh no, this is like, okay, we're back.
Yeah.
We're back
Yeah.
to it. And then, there's like some cool like ragtime piano type of shit that she does. And the fact that she's like classically trained and like so obsessed with classical music, and that's what she truly wanted. She was like, this is out of economic necessity is how I saw it phrased. She was only doing jazz music because it was paying. She's like, fuck this, I want to do classical music. And I'm like, no, fuck it. No, Bach sucks. Like what you're doing is awesome. Like keep
doing it. Keep doing
come
it.
on now.
Yeah.
And so that's like what's so crazy to me is you don't see that a lot, where an artist is making a certain kind of music because it's pay, you know, or maybe, I don't know. It's so weird. There's very few instances of that you see, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's like not so much as like a pleasure, it's more so like out of necessity.
yeah.
You know?
Like if you want to make money doing it at all, you have to make music that you're not exactly.
Yeah, because she wasn't a singer at first. She was just a pianist. So when like
And they were
she was working at that job. They were like, if you want to, play for us, you have to also sing. So
it was such a weird time. Can you that conversation happening is so weird to me. Like, if you want, you gotta sing. I'm sorry. It's like, I'm sorry, but why? It's 1959. You know how many crooners there are? They're like just a dime a dozen. You go buy them at Walmart. And just like I can't
Mm-hmm.
imagining. It just brings you back. Yeah, it oozes that 1959 feel. The old smoky club feel to it, recorded in an East, whatever the tagline on the album is, recorded in an East Side jazz club, bar room, whatever. It's,
I didn't know it was that old until you said it.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, it was recorded in 57 and released in 59, and they've had a bunch of reissues. Well, not really a lot, but recently there was one. There was a reissue recently.
Her music is timeless. I think this album is a good testament to that because you can put it on and it sounds like something you could hear today. In a sense, all the things she's doing, people are doing now.
Yeah. It is one, you can look at it and it points you to a bunch of stuff that happened from before to now and everything in between. And that's, And I mean, obviously, like we said to start it off, she has the placard in every record store for a reason. It's not just, you're not just going to find her an N or S. It's fucking labeled, dude. Yeah. And there's going to be 17 albums.
Yeah.
And let's get into kind of the tumultuous, the crazy backstory to this. The fact she was signed to Bethlehem Records or something, and they were apparently horrendous at promoting. They didn't put any singles out. It was recorded, like you said, it was released or recorded in 57, wasn't released until 2 years later because they were just sitting around on it, and she
they didn't have the money, they were going bankrupt.
Yeah, she one and done with them, and then they went belly up right after she left, and she, because I can't remember the reasoning, but she sold them the rights for the album, and it ended up fucking her out of $1 million by the end of it, when it was all said and done, because it profited so much or whatever. But yeah, she, from the beginning, like you said, debut album having that much just BS go on behind the scenes with it. I'm surprised that she ended up making any more music. It would have jaded me. I'd have been making music's a bunch of horse shit. But yeah,
that's a good point.
Yeah. It's crazy.
It gave her that voice, though, I think, to speak out against that kind of behavior.
Yeah.
And make that more relevant in her music. And she always had that presence.
Yeah. And the only reason that they ended up putting, this was a funny little story I saw. The only reason they ended up putting out singles for it after it had been released was they found out that there was a DJ in rural North Carolina who was playing I Love You Porgy sometimes 3 times in a row. He loved it so much. He was on the radio just playing I Love You Porgy a shit ton. And they're like, we got to put out a single of it. What the hell? We could be making money. And then Nina's now, okay, thank you. Fucking thanks. Finally. So I thought that was hilarious. There's some guy who's I just love this song so much. Cause we get we all get that where you're totally. Run that bitch back, dude. And I'm dude, I can imagine that guy just being smoking long cigarettes and just just flipping it.
Just caught Steve.
Hell yeah.
That's cool.
That's Nina Simone for you, baby.
Oh yeah. No, I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. It's definitely a staple you have to listen at some point in your life and get something out of it.
Yeah. And I'm glad that we did. It's, again, like I said, I'm glad that I got forced to listen to it, and it's one that I definitely will have to grab now too. I feel like that's a must-have in a collection. You got to have a Simone record in there.
I was we're gonna be a while. We're gonna be a while gone. We got need something to look into.
Oh yeah, I feel like we all had for some reason a back pocket thing on deck, and we're we're gonna be gone a while. Might as well just
throw this out there.
Yeah, this one might take a little bit to digest. Yeah, see how deep into this.
No, but top threes. I got mine.
Yeah, go ahead.
Cool.
Let's do it.
All right.
Let's do it up, baby.
Honorable mention. He Needs Me. Love that song. I love the realness of it. And she speaks it all has meaning. Number 3, Mood Indigo. Fucking love that song.
Oh yeah.
Love that song. That Ellington classic, just her spin on it. Number 2, Little Girl Blue, the title track, and then my favorite, Good Bait. I found myself falling in love with her piano work again.
Oh yeah,
It's so good.
hell yeah. Matt, you want to go or you want me to?
Yeah, I got it.
Cool.
Honorable mention for me was Playing Gold Ring. Great track again. And then I like Good Bait too. That's the number 3 or honorable mention. Instrumental track showcases her piano playing. She's so good.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, Mood Indigo. I hadn't heard that song at all, so that was a new one for me. And then My Baby Just Cares for Me was my top track.
Hell
Nice.
yeah. Great stuff. Honorable mention for me, Little Girl Blue, title track. Just love that one. Second honorable mention, I Loves You Porgy. Just that backstory that I just told about it, like kind of, I went back and listened to it and I was like, yeah, I can see why.
Yeah.
I can really, like, just the mental image was
Yeah.
too clear. Number 3 for me, because another instrumental that showcased her pretty well, Central Park, which I do believe is also her only solo writing credit on the album. So loved that. And then number 2, Don't Smoke in Bed. Like I said, we talked about that one.
It's a good song.
Pretty good. And then number 1, My Baby Just Cares for Me. Love that song too.
Nice.
Hell yeah.
Nina Simone. Can't say enough about her, you know.
No. Hell yeah. Nina Simone, Little Girl Blue, like Matt said, can't say enough. I feel like we could think of new ways to appreciate this album. It's definitely one that I'm going to go buy, probably, ASAP. I was going to give a time frame, but, we'll figure that out. Anyway, that was Jake's pick for this fantastic episode 77 of Whatchu Spinnin'. Way to get it started. We'll be right back to move forward in time about almost 40 years and talk about my pick. It's Whatchu Spinnin', episode 77. Stick around.
Well, hot damn. Make me a pizza
Hot diggity
someday.
damn.
Well, we're back in action, ready to talk about some crazy. No, just kidding. What's up? It's Pickle in the Brain over here.
I'm the brain.
Yeah. Anyway, it's time to talk about some great music. I feel another classic album that we were going to talk about at some point. It's one that I've recently gotten into. Another thing I've gotten into this summer, I guess. It's been an interesting music couple of months for me. But I'm going with Aphex Twin's Selected Ambient Works 85 to 92, released in 1992. His debut album for what would become a pretty prolific career, I feel like. Yeah. But what do you guys think about it?
My first deep dive into him, for sure.
Yeah.
He's considered a very influential artist for a lot of different people. And this showcases his ambient sound. At the same time, it's like a different ambient. It's like techno ambient in a sense. And I enjoyed it. He'd been doing it since he was a young kid.
Yeah.
Richard James.
Yeah.
Really. And to be making songs like that when you're 13, 14 years old.
Yeah.
Just like putting an album together is pretty cool. So,
Yeah.
I've listened to a few of his other stuff that he did after this. He's got some cool beats, and man, this album showcases it all.
Yeah.
It's really fun.
For sure.
Yeah, this I feel like is a lot more techno, more so that it is ambient. His second compilation, whatever you want to call it, is Ambient Works 2. That one's definitely ambient. It lives up to the title, but this one doesn't.
Okay.
This one's just kind of techno, IDM, dance house. Not so much house, but
He's dropping an expanded version of Selected Ambient 2 in October.
Oh, shit.
Ooh.
With 14 more songs on it. I think.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. Basically added a whole
Okay.
other.
Wow.
I must have gone back into the archives. I don't know. Found that out while I was listening to this on the drive back home. So that'll be cool. But yeah, Aphex Twin, man. This is the second record of his that I bought. I bought, there's a pressing of his EP, Come to Daddy, which doesn't have the best song on it, pressed on it. In order to get that, you have to go into the test pressings from back when that came out. But anyway, his song Is Us was on
Nice.
Grand Theft Auto 5 on one of the
was
radio
it?
stations. Yeah.
Is it really?
On Blonded Radio, which is the Frank Ocean radio, which oddly enough, I think there's a song by Frank Ocean on that game that mentions Aphex Twin references him directly. And there's like, it's my favorite station on there because there's like a queue of 5 or 6 songs that are just one, it like is just banger after banger for like 6 songs, and this is one of them. And I'm like, I remember playing playing GTA with my buddy online one day, and I was just high as a kite. We just got done with this mission, and it was nighttime, and I'm driving my cool ass car in the game, you know. And that's Is Us came on, and I was like, oh shit. And then
was that your introduction to Aphex Twin?
That was my intro to Aphex
Nice.
Twin. And then what made me dive into this, because I had Come to Daddy already, when I got Another Green World on vinyl, I came home and played it like that night or the next day. And I was like, oh yeah, let's listen to Aphex Twin now. Like once that finished, so I threw on Come to Daddy, and it was over pretty quick because it's only like 4 songs on there. And I was like, let's listen to Selected Ambient Works. Like I see that record every time I'm in a store. Let's give it a shot. And I just fell in love. And I was like, was playing it in the shower. I was driving to, like, I was just like listening to it all the time. So yeah, I fucking love this
Nice.
album. And yeah, to think about it, like he was 14 when some of this came out. Like there's not a bad song on this in my opinion. It's like, how the fuck? Like,
Yeah, he had like a keyboard and a computer, or like what did it?
Yeah.
He didn't have much.
His like gear shouldn't have been that much. Like his equipment, who knows what he was using?
Yeah.
Who knows what he was using? But like at that age, at that time, the equipment wasn't, I guess, the greatest.
Yeah.
I could see. So yeah, being 13, 14, making shit like this,
yeah.
fucking crazy.
And it's you know, I kind of made the joke. I was like, if Brian Eno liked drums, this would be the music he would make.
It's a good reference.
Yeah. I was like, because it gets so like, it starts off with Xtal or Ktal, however you want to say that, and it's so big sounding. It's like Forza Horizon's menu music, like just so. And then towards the back half of the album, it gets very oceanic and like soundscapey again. But then he throws a beat on it, and it's like, how it's such thought-provoking music in my opinion. Like you sit there and you listen to it, and you're really like, how the fuck, like what makes you, how like ambient music, listening to it is so weird because it makes you want to really talk to the people that make it. Like music for airports, music for films, all that stuff. Another Green World, the work he did with David Byrne, I'm like, how, like,
And he did an album of techno stuff. It's called NerveNet. And when I was started getting into I was like, and I bought the album, I was like, what the fuck is it? Because I didn't really listen to techno. I'm like, this is not what I want from
Ooh. When did it come? I'm interested. I'll look into it.
right
I'll
back.
look into it.
like late 80s.
Okay.
early
Okay.
90s.
oh,
Damn.
perfect.
Nice. Around the same time as this, then.
There you go.
Yeah. And
Fuck yeah.
so that's what kind of, and it's it's different because music's all about expression. That's kind of like what its thing is. And it's different. Like you can listen to Slift and everything, and like, or Nina Simone, and the message or the feeling that they're trying to get across is sometimes a little bit buried. You sometimes got to think about it a little bit.
Yeah.
But when it's like instrumentation and stuff like that, it's pretty self-explanatory when you really cut it down to it. This kind of stuff, it's like, I don't like, this makes me sad and happy depending on when I listen to it. It's like certain songs on this, I'm like, just a series of beeps and boops somehow makes me feel an emotion, and that is crazy to me, which makes me love it.
Even the title track alone does that. I felt like,
Yeah.
You have like mellow songs like like that could fit in ambient, and then you have like green calcs. It's like layered lasers.
Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck? Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, what was you played? Was it Pulse Width? Was that your? What song did you play?
Ptolemy.
That's what it was.
Yeah. And
That has such a good vibe to it. Like it's just like dancey, kind of beaty, bop your head. Yeah, it's like you could hear it in a video game. You could hear it just fucking playing music.
yeah. And that's the thing about it is you can put this on in the background, and then it's something that like I've noticed myself. Sometimes my brain just like won't pick up on it unless I'm like trying to act, which is great for background music in my opinion. If your brain just doesn't pick it up, good, and then there'll be something like that song, and you're like, oh, everybody, you just kind of look around the room and everybody's just like bopping to it. You're like, that's what's cool about, kind of a work. It really makes it a work of art. And it seems from the title track or the title of the album, Selected Ambient Works 85, it's like, it's not a compilation album, even though it's
Not at all. Yeah, it doesn't seem like that.
It's so much more thought out than that. And it's like, it makes you almost disbelieve the fact that it took 7 years worth of music. You're like, this is so just, it makes too much sense altogether. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's got like some bouncy beats on there, and then some like super synthy. Ptolemy is one that I caught myself listening to a lot just because at the end, like when I listened, I know I was getting close to the end of the album when I heard that song come up.
Yeah.
And yeah, it just sounds like such a like staple, especially for techno and like an 80s techno. That's what it sounds like. Just like it.
Yeah. It's crazy the kind of, the fact that it is something that you could identify as, yeah, that's early 90s or late 80s, early 90s techno to a T, but then there's stuff that you're like, he's on to something of his own here. There's like stuff that, like, to me, I've said it a couple of times, but like X-Tall, Thaw, Pulse Width, like those three songs, like to start off that album, to me, it's like, that's kind of like sums up Aphex Twin as like, that's a pretty good representation of the project within the first three songs. And it's like, that's kind of his thing. Anytime I listen to Aphex Twin, it sounds with something like that. And it's like, yeah, you can tell he's onto something. And then to have stuff that's very reminiscent of, like acid house or whatever, it's very, very interesting. And he's like, claims that he didn't know some of the genres that he was getting pegged as back then. He's like, I didn't listen to that. I was just making music before I heard them. And I just happened to be called IDM. And it's like, all right.
Okay, settle down here.
You might be full of shit. But no, I think this, I think it's this album in particular, like I said, to put it in a word or a phrase for me, it's thought provoking. Anytime I hear it, I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, how? It's like, and then it's like Gary Newman too, like you think of him and Eno and stuff, or Mort Garçon and like the Moog Machine. You're like, it makes you think of all that shit and be like, how did you guys, like, what? Yeah. Like, because it brings me back, like I said, to the emotional argument, or not argument, but the emotional kind of thought process of it, because all music is an expression of something. And it's like, but ambient music is so, it's
so strange. It's like
so
you can't define it. You can't really put a word on it.
Yeah.
Like,
there's so many subgenres of that too.
Yeah, like you hear this, and for this being like a first project that he did, is kind of what would you define this artist? Like, what is he doing? And then he goes on to do a piano album, and then he goes on to do actual ambient, and then more dance music. Like, it's like, it's kind of all over the place with it. And this, I feel like it keeps kind of the same tempo, the same like feeling throughout the whole album. But it's just real strange, and it sums up Aphex Twin perfectly. Like, if you were to get into him as an artist, this would be a good like jumping off point. And then you can get all his other albums. They're all so unique, so different. So different, so weird.
Like Ambient too, like you said, like Ambient Works 2 is very
sounds like
it's very Eno-esque. But then this is like all over the place, but somehow cohesive at the same time. I think you said, like when you said it kind of carries that same beat, I think that's why I was just able to put it on and just ride with it no matter what. But yeah, man, Aphex Twin, selected Ambient Works 85 to 92. I'm ready to go into top threes unless you boys got something else.
Let's rock it.
Let's do the damn thing. Shout out this album. Just want to say it one last time. Being 14, that's crazy, man. Stop it.
And not having a Moog either, I'm sure. You just had like basic things to use.
Yeah, and I was reading up on it today, and they said that there's a couple of samples on this. One from like RoboCop, and they're like and they were like speculating what he used to do that, and they're like, he probably used a weird Casio thing because it was something that you could load floppy disks onto. And I'm like, dude, like this guy's just using fucking floppy disks. Like, because I've been getting into making music myself and everything, and like trying to figure out, getting really into like effects and, how they make certain things sound. And it's like made me listen to, like we'll get into it here in a second with like your album and stuff, but I listened to like Mogwai and shit. And I'm like, how? Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, what is this?
These droning guitars are sick, but like, what made you think to do that? And
right?
how did you, like, how did you get there? The trial and error process is also fascinating to me with that kind of thing. So shout out Aphex Twin for truly being experimental. And honestly, I think that's inspiring. So anyway, top threes for me. Honorable mention Thaw, or Tha, however you want to pronounce it. Like I said, pretty good representation of the album as a whole. I really liked that. Less than 2 minutes. Very like. It's if we're gonna keep comparing it to video games, that's the loading screen, you know. Just you're on the loading screen for a couple minutes, just whoosh, kind of very very moving on to the next. Number 3 for me, Xtal. Just a hell of a way to start off the album. Really perks your ear up and makes you want to know what's coming next. Number 2, Pulse Width. I feel like that's the first time that it gets catchy on the album. And then number 1, the song I played out in the garage, Ptolemy. Just that little beep boop, boop, the little synth in that is too clean.
Nice, man. Thank you for bringing this up. It had been a while since I'd heard of Aphex, like a full album of his. Honorable mention. I'm gonna go with Tall. I love that intro to the album. Kind of throws you off at first because you read the title, you have an expectation, and then he just blows your mind. Number 3. Aegis Polis.
Great song.
Aegis Polis. Number 2, Green Calcs. That song's a banger, man. The lasers on there. And then We Are the Music Makers. I love that song. That's where I hear that bouncy beat that it has to it. That bouncy thumping bass. Like, yeah.
I feel like We Are the Music Makers to the end of the album could have been its own release. Like it almost has like a different feel. And once you get to We Are the Music Makers, it's kind of like a weird, like it's almost a weird like tone switch to me for some reason. I kind of felt that. But yeah, great picks.
I like Aegis Polis is my honorable mention. Another good song. We didn't really talk about that one. 3, Pulse Width. 2, Head Phlegm. Title alone is just a funny word when you put it together like that. And my top track, another song we didn't really talk about, was Shot Key, 7th Path.
That was a late favorite for me. That was, you know how you were saying Drive Over will make. I was listening to this as I was spinning it as you guys were getting here, and Shot Key, 7th Path almost snuck into top. It almost exceeded honorable mention, went right to top 3. So yeah, I feel you on that one. That's a great one. It's kind of got like almost like a dark, like a Castlevania kind of darkness to it.
Creepy,
Hell yeah. But yeah, I'm so glad that you guys liked it. It's one that I was kind of waiting to bring up. One that I'm still kind of familiarizing myself with. So, or falling in love with, I guess. Anyway, that was Selected Ambient Works 85 to 92 by Aphex Twin, released in spring of 1992. We'll be right back to wrap it up and go even further into the future, about almost 30, and talk about Matt's pick for this week. It's Whatchu Spinnin' episode 77. Stick around. Okay. Well, as I said earlier, it's time to go forward in time from where we were, because we were chilling in the 90s, man. Flannels, Nirvana, Aphex Twin.
Rolling in the grass.
Black Hawk Down. I don't know. Anyway, but it's time to go to 2020. That was a whole mess of something. Let me tell you what. And we got a whole podcast out of it. That's where this came from. Anyway, with my main man Matt's pick for this week, what you got for me, man?
Like you said, going back to 2020, a band called Slift, and this album's called Ummon. I think it's their second release, I believe. Some prog rockers out of France. I believe they're French. Brothers, bassist and the vocalist, and then there's a drummer, I believe. So I think it's just a 3-piece from what I know. Sounds like a lot more.
Yeah.
With the guitars going and just the energy behind it all. It kind of reminds me of like a modern day Pink Floyd, but a little bit harsher.
Yeah.
You know, in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can hear kind of the David Gilmour riffs in there, but expanded way beyond belief. Like this whole Sonar Silver Surfer kind of vibe to it. And it kind of takes you on a journey. It's not really a concept album, but I think instrumentally it is. Yeah. In a sense, because the guitars are so prevalent, and each song is a little bit different, but it could be one long track at the same time. Yeah. And I just stumbled across these guys on Spotify. Again, another reason I love Spotify. You find cool stuff. What do you guys think?
It's very rare that we cover an album or that there's an album that matches its artwork so well. Yeah. Like I would sit there while I was listening to this, I would just sit there and look at the album cover and just be like, "Yep, that is this right here, yeah. Silver Surfer guy with a big ass sword, yeah, that's Ummon, yeah. So that right off the get is hilarious, it is, very much like just David Gilmour riffs, very long, tracks that it's not, I don't know. Tool fans always get shit on because we like really long songs, but they like Slift and, those guys, like, they know how to do it. Like, there's a reason why the song is 7-9 minutes long.
Right.
There's like a whole different chunk that they go into. Sometimes on this, they wouldn't start singing until halfway through the goddamn song. And so that was awesome. The analogy that I came up with that I was really saving is it's like music from like if a Trans Am was in the future and then came back and just smelled like Marlboro Reds, this is what would be playing. It'd be like, get in, bitch. It's time to save the world. And I'm like, hell yeah, dude. All right. Cool. Dude. Yeah, driving through Eastern Oregon playing this was fantastic.
Nice.
If the DeLorean was a Trans Am and Christopher Lloyd had a mullet, like, that's what this album is to me. In the best way possible. I don't mean that as a dig. I think it's amazing.
No, it is, man. It's fantastic. This is a crazy find, Matt.
Yeah.
It's an awesome find.
Was it a day list or just recommended it to you?
It was a recommendation. Yeah.
Nice.
Based on the album cover, I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Okay.
Yeah. And then you hear it, and then it's fucking badass.
Yeah, it's so boom in your face.
It's crazy, and the guitars are crazy. Like, at some, what song is it? Hyperion. That one, like, when I heard that song, I was like, this is it. Like, this album's fucking kicks ass. And you hear the drums on it, too. It sounds like a lot more people.
It does,
It sounds like so many people, but it sounds so polished, so well made. What song is that? Lions, Tigers, and Bears. 13 minutes, 14 minutes
to end
to end the album. That song fucking kicks ass, dude.
Yeah.
That song rules.
I was pissed that it was the last song on the album. I was like, "Are you?" I've never been so mad to hear Aphex Twin come on. I was like, "God damn it!" I was like, "I wanted at least 2 more songs." I was like, "That was awesome." Yeah. But that's kind of like, I can see why they did it, to be like, "Hey, come listen to more stuff, man." Like,
it pulls you in. It pulls you the fuck in.
Yeah.
I think seeing them live too would kind of give you that view of what it sounds like. How are they doing this? How are they making that? I always thought that about Sigur Rós, because like, how are they doing all this? But when you see it live, it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's not that hard. It's very simple, and it's just different guitars and
This is like, so there was one comparison that I was able to that my brain kind of jumped to. Whereas I called Red Fang a class in riffing, this is a masterclass in both riffing and use of guitar effects. There's incredible use of wah pedals on this. Like, just the effects that they used in such a well thought out way. It wasn't just like, all right, here's a stomp box distortion pedal, throw that on and go from there. It was like, no, at this point in the song, like, they really looked at it as a piece of music rather than just 3 dudes jamming. They're like, no, this is actually like a piece of music. Like, here's the coda or whatever, and at this point you're gonna slowly, like, they probably I can imagine that they're like, everything on this sounds so intentional, because it's like, I think about it and I'm like, oh yeah, nothing else would have worked here, or whatever. Like, everything is so methodical and everything, and it really makes you, that's exactly it. It's like, why, like, this isn't 7 people, it's only 3 dudes. Are you shit? It's like, no. It's like, I refuse to believe that.
It's so cohesive too. Like, every song blends into each other, and one song ends and the other song goes, and I'm like, okay, this is another 20-minute song. No, it's 2 different songs, and it's leading into the third. Like, it's really well like produced also, because for an album to do that, have no breaks, just go through kind of as a whole cycle, it shows that. And it just bleeds with badassery, just awesomeness. Everything about it. No track on this album is a skip. No. Like, you can listen to this whole album front to back.
And like you said, the use of guitar effects, they do it so well. Sometimes it doesn't even sound like an effect. It sounds like the vocalist hitting the high note, but I think it is an effect. There's a few songs like that, and I'm not sure what pedals they're using, but besides the wah pedal, but
Yeah.
man, it sounds so good.
Yeah.
And to do that well is hard.
Right.
Very difficult.
And that's why I said, I was like, it sounds like everything on this is so just, it's like military. It's like just how it's all pieced together and everything. Cause I was so blown back, this has been in the background when we've done like Skype episodes. This has been in the background. Like you've had this for a minute. And I'm like, I see kind of why you sat on it for so long, because it's a fucking masterpiece. Like really, this is, like you said, there's no skips on it. The production on it is incredible. Like the mastering, everything, the artwork. Like, look at this shit.
It goes well.
He's got a
zoom in on that.
He's got a fucking sword in his hand.
Just everything about it. I'm like, no, this is so well thought out. And just like you said, you could just keep this. I got it. That's it.
You get lost of like every now and then I'll check our like playlist that we have, our mix, and I saw Ummon, like the song, and I was like, okay, cool, I'll listen to it. I listened to it. It was really good. I was like, okay, that song is sick. And that was months ago. That was a while ago that I heard that. And I was like, okay, Matt's going to bring this up at some point. And you did. And I was like, when I saw the album and I saw that I liked that one song, I was like, oh, okay, I've heard of this maybe. No. Very different. Throws you off, and in a good way. Like it's a journey in itself, this long tracks and then the killer ending track. It kind of sealed the deal for me as like, I need to look into these guys more.
Yeah.
And like, they've only been making music not too terribly long, but pretty recently, like late 2010s, 2017, 2018 or whatever. And they just released the album. So definitely got to look into more of their stuff.
Yeah. And it's, how did we not find, like, if I were you, Matt, I would have like churned and burned so fast. I would have heard this album, bought it, and brought it up on the podcast within 3 days.
Got so many albums I want to talk about.
I know.
It's hard.
So shout out to you for the patience, like for really being able to sit on it. And man, it really makes you wonder about like the Spotify algorithm. Like, what is it doing back there?
It
like,
knows you almost too well.
fucking
up.
Even the hip hop that it's recommended, I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
get out of my head.
Yeah, like the Juggernauts and everything. Yeah, that's, oh man. And I can't even think anymore. My brain's broken.
They have a show coming up in Portland.
They do.
That thing would be pretty fucking sick.
That would be pretty sick. Oh, what I was gonna say. This is what I was gonna say. Sorry about that. The first, you mentioned Ummon and like how it's not really what the rest of the album is. Whereas we just said with Aphex Twin, like the first three, like that's a good representation of the album, and Aphex Twin probably as in general. Ummon, like there's no one track that represents the album. I feel like maybe something like Citadel and the Satellite, I could say, but to me, like everything stands out so much on its own that it's hard, and especially
That's a great track you mentioned too.
yes, yeah. God damn, I don't even know. There's Dark Was Space, Cold Were the Stars. The song that you played out there was super great. Aurora Aux Confines. You kind of feel that song into Sundong's Cavern. I kind of feels like a dip, kind of in the intensity. Like they kind of let off the gas just a little bit, and that's why when Lions, Tigers, and Bears came on, and it ended, I was like, no, more. There's got to be more. So. And even that, being able to recover, I think that end of the album was executed it's so genius. It had to be intentional, So
I like how instrumental it is too. A lot of it's not vocal.
Yeah.
And for a while you're like, is there vocals? But
right.
They do the instrumentation so well with the guitar playing they do. And if it's just one guitarist, that's what blows my mind. Like if there's a bass player and a drummer and one guitarist, I don't get it.
The studio, they just have to layer guitar tracks. Like Pro Tools is just like 17. It's just 7 channels, all guitars. That's
do it well.
There's the picture that will have already been shown on screen that I shows just 3 dudes, and I'm like at a live show, and I'm like, there's no way.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is like they're not so like huge bands, like all of their effect stuff is like handled off stage, backstage, whatever. These guys aren't that big. Like they're not Metallica. Right. They're not fucking, The Cure or whatever. So that's why like we should probably try to go. because I'm curious to see how the fuck this goes live. You know what I mean?
Same.
It's that interesting, and I'm like, because the thing is it sounds so massive. It's such a massive sounding album, and then I was appalled when I was doing the research this morning, and I was like, there's not three.
Get out of here.
There's not 3 people in the band. What are you fucking talking
It's
about?
a 7-piece.
Yeah, this is a Slipknot.
Yeah.
This is Slipknot for guys
12
that took
members,
calculus.
Right. Yeah. Math rock.
Yeah. Hell
No,
yeah.
great find, dude. I'm glad you brought it up. I'm surprised that it took you this long to bring it up because I get super excited if I hear something. I'm like, oh, I need to bring this up. I need to get it. This will definitely be on my I'll be on the hunt per se.
Yeah,
I'd order it from House of Records. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Probably Discogs would be your best bet, maybe. I don't know.
Cool.
Probably, yeah. Hell yeah.
And when I ordered it, the guy at the counter's like, "Oh, the one with the surfer dude on it, right?"
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, baby.
That's the one.
You know.
He was called the Silver Surfer. It was hilarious.
It's amazing. Have you listened to any of their other stuff? Then?
I haven't. Their new album came out. It's got a cool album cover as well. I haven't really dove into that as much, or their first album. So definitely worth checking out.
I want to say. 1 second. Let me look at because I think I want to say I saw the new album in Utah actually
Oh, very cool.
while I was there.
They're touring all over the
I
place.
did Ilion. I saw that at Randy's Records.
Nice.
Actually, and it made me think. I was like, oh, yeah, we're talking about them in like a week and a half.
Yeah, we need more shows in Eugene too, local shows. So
Yeah.
don't
We
drive
do.
so far.
Yeah, exactly. We gotta coordinate. It's a lot of gas. Okay, I like to go home.
Not 2 a.m.
Yeah, exactly. Hell yeah.
Well, I'm glad you guys liked it.
No,
It's
absolutely.
a fun album. It's good summertime vibes.
Yeah.
Rock out to it. I was rocking out to it on the way over here. And
Yeah, it's like drive with the windows down.
Yeah.
like music for sure. I was like, yeah, this is when you because I think in the post that I mentioned, you like mentioned like this is good summer music, and I was like, okay, like hell yeah, and yeah, I think you kind of Hail Married right at the end of summer. Great choice.
there it is. Yeah.
Hell yeah, shall we?
Let's top 3 it up.
All right.
Honorable mention for me is that last track with Lions, Tigers, and Bears. Such a good song and so long. It's fun to hear.
Yep.
Number 3, Sonar. I like that song. Number 2 was a song I played out there, Dark with Space, Cold War of the Stars. And my top track was Citadel on a Satellite. Like
Hell
you
yeah.
said, it kind of gives you that whole summation of the album right there in that song. So.
Yeah, and title and everything too. Like yeah.
I like the titles of these songs are good.
Yeah.
Yeah, like yeah, it's coming. 1,000 helmets of gold. It is very like, and then you see the inner sleeve and it's a guy with a sword. I'm like, yep.
He's an Elden Lord.
Yeah, I know a thing or two about that. Hell yeah! Honorable mention for me, Altitude Lake. I felt like that was a good come down from Hyperion, really, but it also was intense in its own right. Second honorable mention is Sundong's Cavern. As I said, it's kind of this weird, fast one that they pull on you at the end, which I really liked. Number 3 for me, Lions, Tigers, and Bears. Again, we've given that song a lot of praise. Rewind a couple minutes if you want to hear my thoughts. Number 2, It's Coming. It's the second song on the album, and it's like, all right, we're really getting into business, and like, it's coming for you. Like, it's just got like it like just makes you, it's kind of like when you go to the Duck game and they do the shout, and it's like a little bit louder.
Yeah.
Like, it kind of has that energy to me, so I really like that. And then my favorite song, Matt and I were just talking about it, Citadel on a Satellite.
Nice.
I just dropped my pen. Yeah, Citadel on a Satellite. Really liked that song. As I said, kind of a perfect summation of the album in and of itself. If you were to have one track that did, I think that's it. So
That was in my top 3 too. It has to be. That song's so good.
so good.
Honorable mention, Altitude Lake. Like that song. The first half of this album is so strong.
Very.
And then the ending of it just kicks the first half's ass. Number 3, Citadel on a Satellite. Number 2, Hyperion. I heard that song. I was like, this album's fucking sick. And then my favorite song, Lions, Tigers, and Bears. I want a full album just off a song. I need like a Dove's iteration of that song.
Yeah, there we
like
go.
release a vinyl off it.
Hell yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. Good pick, Matt. I'm
Thank
glad
you.
that you did it perfectly. You waited with bated breath to bring this up. And I know that it was not easy. So shout out to you for that. And you brought it up at a perfect time. Like we said, we all kind of picked something that was like, hey, we want some extra time for you to digest this, like really see this album for what it is. And I'm glad that we had almost a full month rather than just, 2 weeks. So thank you for that. Anyway, it's time to truly wrap this bad boy up and talk about what's coming to you 2 weeks from now on episode 78 of Whatchu Spinnin. But this has been Slift's Ummon, released in 2020 to wrap up Whatchu Spinnin episode 77. I'm Dorian. That's Matt, whose pick it was, and that's Jake. Stick around. We've got some more stuff coming for you. All right. It's about that time. Everybody's favorite time of every episode of Whatchu Spinnin that we've ever done and that we ever will do, where we tell you in order that we just spoke of what albums are coming to you on the next episode. And given that we go in order, we got Jake coming up first. What you got, man? Oh,
It's
shit.
Stevie Wonder, Songs in the Key of Life. 1976. I feel like I already brought up one of my favorite Stevie Wonder albums. So I got to bring up another one, another good one.
Songs in the Key of Life. There's a song on there that's like a bass playing standard that will be very fun to listen to again. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. But anywho, for me, I'm coming up next. An album that I just picked up before last episode, An Awesome Wave by Alt J.
Oh, nice.
One of my favorite albums of all time. I sold too much of my record collection a long time ago, and unfortunately this left with it, and I have never ever been able to find it in person. And then Prime Day happened and I got it for stupid cheap. So
Very cool.
Alt J, An Awesome Wave.
Good album. All right, well, based on that, since I had last pick, I'm going to go back to one of my favorite albums from last year, Black Classical Music by Yusef Days. Little jazzy pick.
Hell yes.
Nice.
Black classical music, you said?
Got it.
Excellent.
I've heard a couple good songs off there. That's nice.
This will be a great episode. I haven't heard anything off that. I've heard the name at the very least. Another one of those scenarios for me. Songs in the Key of Life. You heard the reaction when he pulled that out. Yeah, that's a freaking classic. And then Alt J, An Awesome Wave, an album that I feel will be a classic a couple of decades from now. But yeah, anyway, thanks for coming, guys. Thanks for sharing music.
Fun to see you again. I missed you.
I know, I missed you both so much, and now you can't get rid of me. Anyway, thank you, viewer and listener, for listening and supporting the podcast, supporting the show. Go ahead and follow us on Instagram at Whatchu Spinnin. Tell your friends, like, subscribe. Word of mouth is huge. We're small. We're just doing it for the love of the game. Support your local record store. Support your local venue, local artists, and little word of advice: if you see someone coming to town and you can only afford nosebleeds, go. You'll still have a good fucking time. Make a date night out of it or whatever. Or if you're a solo, just have fun.
Just go.
And yeah, anyway, go ahead and eat something good. Stay hydrated. We're almost to the end of summer. Be safe out there. That's Jake. That's Matt. I'm Dorian. This has been Whatchu Spinnin, episode 77. Peace out, you beautiful people.